Alrighty. Yo,
Hello.
Matt, we're back.
We are back. How are you?
I'm doing freaking awesome.
This is where we pretend that we haven't been chatting just a minute ago.
I know. That's one thing that we always get jammed up with. Have you noticed that? Like, we'll always talk for like 30 minutes before. Let me send this out. Funny, right meow on YouTube. Hey, so how's your parents doing, bro?
My parents?
Yeah, ain't that where you was at?
Yeah. No, well remembered. I didn't know you knew that. Yeah, no, they're all good. Oh, yeah, of course. I told you last week, didn't I? It's been too long. Yeah, no, they're all good. So I caught up with family. Had about a week with them, kind of Sunday to Sunday. So that was really good. Caught my mum's birthday for the first time in years because always obviously send her a card, and normally I'd just see her just before or just after, but we was actually there on the day this year. So that was good.
Okay, good deal.
Yeah, that's good. How are yours?
Good. Yeah. We got Blaze and Ricky. What's up, y'all? What's up? Yo, chat, we had like 2 weeks off this stuff. You know what I'm saying? We're kind of excited to be back in the saddle again, man. Oh, yeah.
That's so long, isn't it? I think that's the longest we haven't been here on a Friday or a weekend, really. So
it felt like it was a long time.
Yeah, no, it's missed it. Really did miss it.
Hey, but at least you caught up with all that family stuff and everything, you know what I'm saying? Right.
Yeah, no, it was good. And because we had a really good guest last time as well, didn't we? As in Alex Harrison. That was a really good conversation. And and then 2 weeks you had your live event, didn't you, on TikTok?
Yeah, that was that 1 week why we couldn't do it, and then the next week you were out of town. You know, what I'm saying?
I was away then. So no, it's but it feels like ages. I was almost going to wish you happy Christmas.
I know, right? When is the 2-year mark, anyways? Remember how we went to this last year?
Was it November?
I think it is November.
Yeah, November time. So we're not far off that now. We'll have to. I remember actually because I had the balloons last year, didn't I? So I'll have to think of something else for this year. Yeah, it'll be November.
Miss Chelsea says November.
Yeah, I think for some reason I've got the 26th in my mind. I don't know whether that's
right. That sounds about right.
Yeah. Hello, Chelsea. By the way.
Yo, Alex, what's up, buddy? Long time no see, bro. How you doing? I mean, it wasn't really long time no see because you're in the TikTok live yesterday. So, but you know what I'm saying, bro. Matt, we need to get everybody together on Call of Duty nights.
Yeah. When have you started those already, or are you thinking about it?
We've just been kind of going back and forth. Me and Miss Chelsea have we haven't really locked in anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I'll have to join you on there. Have you got any evenings in mind, or?
I think we were thinking Saturday for some reason.
Right? Okay. Yeah, that should be good for me. Yeah, that should be good for me. Time-wise, I might only be able to do like perhaps a couple of hours, something like that, depending on what you're doing. But
usually how I roll, anyways.
Is it? Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, no, I'll fit in with that and catch up with sleep on Sunday.
Yep, easy peasy. Yo, Miss Allison, what's up? How are you?
Sunday's always been a good recovery day.
Usually, until that brand new one, that new baby you got. Right?
Yeah. No, she's doing well as well. So the little guy's gone back to school this week after the summer. So he's looking a lot bigger and talking a lot bigger as well. He thinks he's a teenager already. So but no, and he's really enjoying it actually as well. He's enjoying being back, so that's good.
Hey, that makes life easier, huh?
Yeah, no, I don't know how long that will last for. But no, all's good at the moment. So.
Yo, Tyler, what's up, buddy? What's up, Tyler? What you up to, man? How you doing? Are you all Gucci? Are you motivated? Ready to rock and roll right now? Aye, sir. Hey, Miss Allison, you said you really needed this today. Do you have anything you want to talk about? Ciao. So since we've been gone, right? Like we had Alex 3 weeks ago. The following week after, I had the TikTok takeover. And then the week after that, Matt was out of town with family stuff, right? So it's been like 2 weeks, actually 3 weeks, where we really got to interact with you guys and fucking kind of see what's up with y'all. So we just want to make sure that kind of everybody's okay. You know what I'm saying? Kind of want to make sure that everybody's okay. I know it's been a few weeks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But how's everybody holding up? Yo, Miss Allison, are you okay? Anything you want to talk about, discuss? Miss Chelsea, I'm doing freaking awesome.
Yeah, I'm doing good too. I keep I caught a little bit of your stream the other night where you was I really like the little character, Chris, that you've kind of created.
You like Baby Netzel?
Yeah, is it Baby Netzel? I didn't know whether they had a name or not, so that was good.
Gang, bitches.
But I just kind of catch little bits, and then I catch Chelsea's voice as well, would just pop up somewhere, and I kind
Yeah,
of think,
she's
oh,
like
that's
my
Chelsea
mom.
there. So yeah, that's good. It
Like,
is good.
Mom.
Blaze. So Blaze said he's not really okay for the past few days. Yo, Blaze, what's going on, man? What's up? What you got, bro? What you got? Maybe we could help out. You know what I'm saying? If you don't want to get too personal, I understand, right? Like I do understand and respect the privacy side of it. But if it's something you want to talk about, just know that we're here for you. All right, for sure. I'm just a baby. Yo, I'll be running around fucking always like trying to get milk.
It's funny. It was I think it was I just kind of catch these little bits where all of a sudden like you're throwing a hand grenade or like a petrol bomb or something like that and things. So,
my best friend killed himself yesterday, and I haven't had time to mourn full yet. I feel you, man. I've been there. I've sat right in those shoes, man. Blaze, there is no short term, right? Like fix to it. I can tell you from experience on some things that I learned the hard way on to avoid. And one of those is the road that people tend to go down is why. And I could have done something different to stop it. And the reality of it is you'll never know why. It's already that's final, right? And nothing that you could do could have changed the outcome. It's just when people make up their minds to do that, I wholeheartedly believe they choose to. I do believe there are times where people reach out. Don't get me wrong. You know what I'm saying? But I think you have to be open to that and want to do that instead of making that final decision, you know. And most importantly, though, I want to say I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry for your best friend's family. Right, that right there is tragic and heartbreaking to go through. You know, so I feel you. I've been in those same shoes that you're in right now. Right, and I know just how sad it is. I know how almost scary it is. You know, and how you can be left in a state of do I go down this path? Do I not? You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna tell you, I learned the hard way. Don't go down it. You know what I mean? He left behind 2 baby girls, and now I feel like it's my duty to step up and make sure they're okay. You know, absolutely, Blaze. Absolutely. I would never steer like or recommend anybody not do something like that. You know what I'm saying? Because and I'm when I'm speaking to you about this is because I've been through the other side of it, right? And but when I say this, I think that suicide is a selfish act, right? And it's a final act. You know what I'm saying? So we here that are left here have to be able to figure out ways to cope with it and to move through it and move past it, right? And I think being here for each other and doing that is a great way to start that process for sure. What are your thoughts on that, Mike or Matt?
Yeah, no, I've firstly as well, I'm kind of really sorry as well that you're going through that and you're experiencing that, and thoughts were with you and their family as well, and especially with the young ones. So I kind of really agree with what you've said there, Chris. I think it's important to give yourself kind of that time to grieve and kind of not rush or force any of that. And I think as well, if you've kind of got thoughts of looking out for the children as well, is being aware that families and individuals kind of deal with things very differently. So sort of hopefully there'll be a lot of communication there that you'll be able to have with family and those children as well. But during that time, everyone will be kind of grieving and in their own way, and that can look very different from one person to another. So to kind of be a little bit aware of that and to make sure that you are spending that time looking after yourself. So there's going to be a lot of feelings, emotion and things being shared and talked about and stuff. So just make sure that you spend that time that you need really to kind of regain that energy and sort of being able to look after yourself and take care of yourself as much as possible, as well as if you kind of feel that way, kind of watching out for the children as well and look, spending time with them. But yeah, it is. I understand what Chris says there about it being selfish. I think it's selfish in a way, as in it's just about that individual themselves and how they personally feel. And obviously, unfortunately, whatever they were dealing with or however they kind of felt, was just kind of too overwhelming for them. And unless kind of people leave notes and talk to people beforehand and stuff like that, very rarely, unfortunately, those questions are kind of answered, like Chris has said, where we kind of know why and we can understand it better. I think it's important to kind of remember, the good things about them, the times, that we enjoyed with those people. I think sometimes we do feel, and we need to kind of feel that anger and upset that they decided to do things the way that they chose to. But it's about kind of the people that are kind of left, and about them coming together and looking out for the people that are here, and like what you've said, really looking after those children and supporting each other in the best way that you can.
And I'm sorry, bro. I really am, Blaze. I really am, and I know the pain. I know the heartache, and I feel you. I wish there was a way that I could carry that load for you. You know what I'm saying? But that's not possible. And I do agree with Matt wholeheartedly. Like, you got to take the time to be able to grieve. You know what I'm saying? Or else you just listen. Don't be like me, right? I've learned a lot of the hard ways on a lot of things, and I pushed a lot of feelings aside, and then just moved on past things and left them untouched and unhandled and shit like that. And it still comes back to bite me every once in a while. Now right now I'm in a different position in life to where I'm capable of now being able to cope with a lot of things that I couldn't before. So handling it is a little easier now. But if I would have just dealt with all that shit before, it would have made life a lot easier. You know what I'm saying? And I challenge you, man, to just accept the grieving process and let it do its thing. That I think that for me would have helped out on a lot of situations that I've been through as well. You know what I mean? And that kind of ties into what Miss Allison was saying too. Miss Allison said her grandfather passed away, right? I know just how special grandparents are, right? I do. Trust me. I lost my grandfather, I think, when I was 12, and then my grandmother maybe about 2 years ago, I think. And they both had huge impacts on my life, especially my grandfather, and more so, and obviously more so my grandmother on a different aspect because she was here and my grandfather wasn't, but they're very, very special to me. And like Matt was saying, Miss Allison, one thing that I've learned is to appreciate those good times that you've had with them and kind of let that be on the forefront. Obviously, like I said, these are all fresh wounds. You're gonna grieve. You're gonna have to have time to heal. And I think maybe a little bit to help out in that process, right? I'm never I don't ever think you should ignore that, right? Obviously coming to terms with it and grieving it, but remember all those good times, like Matt was saying. It's just I wish that we could all just be here forever. I really do, but it's just not a thing that's going to happen. And I know one thing that's really helped me out, especially on the coping side of things, is like Matt was saying, is learn how to keep those good memories on the forefront, right? Learn how to take those memories, and when you start feeling sad, force them from the back of your mind to the front of your mind. And it tends to work out really well for me. And once again, that's just for me. I don't there's several other ways of grieving and stuff like that, and help and solutions, but I do feel like the good memories are definitely a huge thing that have helped me out a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. And again, grandparents, we've spoken about sort of both our grandparents sort of over the nearly couple of years that we've been here doing this, and we've both found similar things like that, because my grandparents were really important to me as well. And I kind of lost my granddad almost 20 years ago now, which sort of 15, 16 years ago now. So and I still think about them every day, and I still get sad quite often as well, which is okay. It's okay. I don't want that kind of sadness to kind of stay there, for too long, sort of day after day, because then that's obviously not healthy. But what I kind of do really is kind of give myself time then to kind of go through, photographs, things like that. Think about those good times that we had. There was loads of fun times that we had that kind of really helped me sort of out. And then my grandmother was 3 or 4 years ago, and I was sort of there the evening just before she passed away in the morning, which I'm kind of really pleased that I was there. But there was some I can't really say negative sides to that, but there was some sides to that of being there that I had to kind of deal with as well and think about and stuff. And again, I miss her kind of every day as well. And I think obviously we've lost a queen over here, sort of, just a couple of days ago, and I think it was her. I can't remember the exact words, but it was her that said, to grieve is to know that you've loved. And that's, it's about kind of caring. We feel the way that we do because those people were so important to us and they meant so much to us and they did bring us so much joy, mostly. So, that's why we kind of miss them so much. So if we didn't have them, if we didn't know them, then we wouldn't have that grieving, which is a downside to loving and caring for people. So in one way, we're really lucky to have them there. And this is the consequence really that we kind of live with because we've had important people in our lives. So I kind of, it's strange really that, that's, we've obviously lost our queen who said something like that means so much and is really right, I believe. I think it was a really good thing that she sort of said.
Absolutely. Blaze said, I said the same thing. And the bad part is, I don't know if I should love him, hate him, or miss him. Everything hit all at once. And I just shut down all day yesterday. And listen, Blaze, I want to tell you that what you're feeling is natural and normal, right? Yeah. Like I know this is a lot to take in all at one time, 100%. Right. But I want to keep this in your mind that the feelings that you're experiencing are normal, right? Like these are normal things. I can't even sit here and tell you honestly, wholeheartedly that I forgive people that have done that, that I was significant to for the pain that happened. You know what I'm saying? Right. And I don't really, it's going to take time, Blaze. I mean, that's really the only way. Like, I think that all that you're feeling in this comment right here is normal. I think it's not, I think it's natural human nature to feel this way and to be confused. And I think it's part of the healing process, what do you recommend?
Yeah, definitely. And, it's a conversation really. Like I've just seen Justin's comment followed by Jade's as well. About keeping those emotions in, bottling things up, and that they usually come out in a big emotion. Jade's one about grief about losing a patient is terrible too, which reminds me very much of my situation a number of years ago now, where I'd kind of lost a granddad that I just spoke about a moment ago, and I've spoken about the situation on here before. My mum and my nan was with us at the time in the hospital room. My mum turned around to me and said, don't you be upset, be strong for your nan. Which without me knowing kind of stopped me letting those emotions and feelings out, because I thought, well, okay, I can't do that now because, I need to look after me nan like my mum's asked me to. So those comments are all connected. It's funny how one's after the other. So I held that kind of emotion in. I think it was about 4 years later. I was working with some clients that were homeless. I was very passionate about how they were being treated by local authorities and things like that, because one of them died sort of living on the street, who was just about to be housed, but he'd been treated awfully by the local authority, and I kind of felt passionately that his death was just needless, and I still do today. He should still be here as far as I'm concerned. It was other people that kind of stopped him getting accommodation, which I'm sure would have saved his life. But his death kind of triggered off the emotions that I hadn't kind of dealt with from a grandparent. So it's really important, sort of that bottling up and keeping those emotions to yourself, not talking, not communicating. It can cause a lot of damage. It can kind of catch up with you, sort of when something else sort of triggers that, even years later, like it did in my case. When that happened, I kind of had a really difficult time for about 1.5 years, where sort of having panic attacks, anxiety, things like that, which when I look back, I'm kind of glad that I experienced, because I can talk to other people about it now. When people say to me, I'm feeling anxious, I know how that feels, and panic attacks, I understand. I use a lot of the tools then that we talk about here today, week after week, to kind of help myself through that. So I know that those tools work, and looking after yourself works. So I kind of got proof really that what I talk about works, and it does help, and you can make those improvements and changes to yourself, because I've done it to me. I used them to help myself. I used to talk about them a lot, but not really understand how panic attacks, anxiety and things affected people. I do now, so which I look back and think I wouldn't have chosen to have gone through that, but I'm glad that I did, because I've used it now to kind of help other people, I think, and talk to other people about it. But so, yeah, it's so important not to kind of bottle those emotions up and to kind of let grief and grieving happen, because it's an important process.
Yeah, I agree. Scott said, not trying to take the light off anyone else, but something that has been bugging me lately is that when I do have kids, they probably won't have grandparents and cousins. There's absolutely zero control you have over that. You know what I'm saying? And I wish that everybody had the opportunity to experience those kind of things. You know what I'm saying? Right. But I just know that here's the way that I look at it. Right. For those of y'all that have been here a while, y'all know about my dad and his situation and all that other stuff. Right. Because this has crossed my mind before too. You know, I found like why I wish Casey could experience the good side of my father, you know, like back when things were normal per se, right? Versus the way they are now. But at the end of the day, the best thing that I could tell you, Scott, is that all you can do is just do the best that you can as a father, man. That's it. That's the best thing that you could do. And your child will love you for it and respect you for it. And that's all that you can do. You can't control things that are out of your control. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the method that I try and live by with little Miss Casey Lynn, who's not so little anymore, but you know what I'm saying, right? I just try to be the best man that I can be, right? And at the end of the day, we're all just humans. We all make mistakes, chat. Like I know, like if anybody makes mistakes, it's this guy right here, right? Like I'm good at it. You know what I'm saying? But I try my best to learn from them to the best of my ability. I try to recover from my poor decisions that I made in life. I try to do right by people. You know what I'm saying? And that's the best that I feel like I can do, you know? And I challenge you to concentrate more on that than what you would on the things that you can't change. You know what I mean? Those things that you have that physical control over and capabilities of handling. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know, obviously, kind of the situation really that kind of Scott's talking about there. I'm kind of guessing it's because of timing and because who is around and things like that. You know, but if I get this wrong, and I'm sorry if I do, and just please let me know as well. But I think like what Chris has said, it's, you know, there's an awful lot of things that you can kind of control. You know, family is a very kind of small word, but it means so many things, and there's lots of different ways of creating family and important people around you. You know, I think like what Chris has said there, you can be the best person that you can be towards children. And you can encourage them to kind of meet and know other, you know, good people and influences and peers. You know, there's other ways of bringing people into that group that is good, you know, for children. And, you know, kind of talking to them about perhaps people that have passed that are no longer around and letting them know about the history of your family is an important thing to do as well. And, you know, certainly something that they'll get something out of, because they'll kind of have a better understanding of where they're from and who their family were. So
let that memory live on, you know?
Yeah, no, it's definitely, and that's a way of,
and that's something you are in control of. You can do that anytime, you know?
No, definitely. So there's so many things that you can do to kind of help that situation. So some things that you can't control, but from what I kind of understand, there's a lot of things that you can control as well. You know, family means lots of things. You can introduce people to a lot of important people or good influences to them. You know, especially with friends and things like that as well. So I hope I've got the right end of the stick there. But
I think we covered both ends, though.
You know probably. Yeah, I think so. But yeah, I'd say, you know, if that's something that you want to do, that's a goal that you've got in life, and you want to have children, don't let those worries kind of stop you. You know, life has a funny way of working things out as well, and introducing you to people that you never even knew, and you know, didn't even know that were going to pop into your life. So, you know, kind of if that's an ambition that you have and a goal that you have of having children, you know, don't let those kind of worries stop you. That's what I'd say to that one.
I agree. And then Justin said, which you kind of touched on it, holding something in, leaving it unhandled will result in explosive emotion. At the same time, it will with any other emotion, anger being the biggest one for me. Deal with it. Don't leave it untouched. And I know we kind of hit on that earlier, right? And I'll just tell you, I know firsthand, bro, like I agree. I still fight a battle every day of my life with not self-isolating when times get tough, not and when important things need to be decided and when important issues need to be confronted. Sometimes I do like want to sink under a rock, you know, and then like fucking live in my thoughts, you know what I mean? And I think that's if you ask me what one of my biggest weaknesses was, I would probably say that's it. Now there are certain things that only really applies though when it's really close and personal to me, and it requires like me opening up and letting me stepping in a situation that I don't have control of. You know what I'm saying? And I don't mean control like I run the show or anything like that. I mean that I know that I can reasonably protect myself to a certain level, and it's hard for me sometimes still to this day in life to get past that, you know, and I have to do things. And it's just like I talked about on TikTok yesterday, like a few days ago, I had one of them days where you just start fighting them old demons, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes you just need to like fucking chill. But the downside of that is I found myself in bed most of the day, and it just makes things worse. It's like it's almost like chat. You guys, for those of y'all that have been in a relationship, right? Y'all know y'all been with those significant others at the time, right? Where you just argued in circles, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like sometimes I put myself in that predicament by laying in bed, fucking trying to deal with my thoughts and not doing anything else in the process, because I noticed that as soon as I got my bitch ass up, right? Like I went to the bathroom, I cleaned the bathroom, and then I went back and lay back down. And then I was still get kind of in my head, but then I started getting like thoughts of like, well, damn, the whole rest of the house, you know, like I can go through, I can mop the floors, I can go pick this up, I can go do that. And then next thing you know, here I am out of it. And then before I even know it, I don't even know how it happens, but then I get back on the right side of things, you know? So, I do believe that holding stuff in can be a big downfall, right? And if you don't know how to handle things that are already unhandled or things that come up unhandled, I suggest reaching out to somebody who knows, you know. And I think that worked out really well for me, because as y'all know, y'all hear me say it a million times on these mental health streams, that I learned how to build up a tool bag of tools that I hold on to for when times get tough, and that along with some willpower, right? It tends to make to get me out of any kind of situation I've encountered thus far. You know, what do you think, Matt?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's like, yeah, I think there's a lot of things that I kind of look back on, you know, during my teenage years, especially, you know, kind of go through a lot of changes there, early 20s and things. I used to deal with a lot of things myself. I used to hold a lot of feelings in myself, thoughts, and you know, that's not necessarily a bad thing in itself, because you do learn how to deal with things in a certain way. But it's very easy for that to become unhealthy. And I think it's good to kind of check in with yourself, really. You know, if things feel like they're kind of swamping you, getting too much, you know, obviously that's a good time to kind of get extra support to talk about things, and you know, and to share kind of what's going on. Find a safe person that you can kind of talk to and share those things with. Lucky enough, there's a certain little group that's normally here on a Friday night that's a good place to have a chat in a gym wag and things and share stuff. But you know, so hopefully we provide an area, a safe place where people can talk about stuff as well. But you know, even during the week, whether it's about kind of finding a safe person you can talk to and share things with, it really does make a difference. And it's like having that great big rock in it that you're kind of carrying around with you, and it's just nice to be able to place that down for a bit and give yourself a bit of a rest, and perhaps even leave it, you know, where you put it if you can as well. So I always use a bit of an analogy of, you know, when I'm working with people that talk to me about worries and stresses, as where I'll kind of use whatever's around me, really, whether it's boxes, whether it's drink cartons, whatever. Every time they talk about a problem, I'll pick something up and hand it to them, so that they have to hold it. So they might end up with like 5, 6, 7 things, you know, that they're trying to hold in their hands. And then if they've got children or they've got a partner, you know, whether they've got work that they've got to look after, I'll kind of say to them, you know, right, you know, just think now, you know, go and hug your children, go and do your work that you've got to do, go and drive your car while you're carrying all those things. It's almost impossible. So, you know, you've got to kind of put them down to be able to carry on with things properly and in a balanced and healthy way. You know, how do you hug your children if you kind of got all these weights that you just can't put down and you know, give your children the attention that they kind of require from you, if you're just carrying all these things around with yourself? So if you can share those with someone else and be able to put those rocks or whatever they are down for a bit, so you can kind of get on with life. It's a much healthier kind of way to be and things to do. So it's good to work things out yourself, but it's also good to talk as well. And it's about that balance, I think.
I agree. And then, Miss Whiskey talks about grief about losing a patient is terrible too.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to be open with y'all. There's a different side of that when it comes to public service, and I think that the healing and the ways of handling things are a lot different just because you're exposed to those kind of social or those kind of things, those kind of irregular things on a regular basis. Does that make sense? Am I explaining that right?
Yeah.
So as public service, like EMS, right, which I know y'all are here, right? Grim and Whiskey, y'all have to deal with this shit every fucking day, right? And I'm gonna tell you, as a police officer who dealt with things like this pretty much every day as well, there are separate ways that I don't feel are really that you won't hear me talk about a lot because they're not applicable anymore. And I don't think they're appropriate ways to handle things now that I'm in the position that I'm in life. But if I was still in police, and I would do it the same way, you do have to create that distance. There just has to be. At least that's the only thing that kept me above the water. Now, when I was a police, I strived every day to just help one person, you know what I'm saying, and change one person's life. Like I live by that code. Like I tried to on everything that I went to. But there is death. There is evil. There are bad people. We would just be naive to not admit that. You know what I'm saying? I do believe that good way supersedes the bad in society. I wholeheartedly believe that. But there are things in different ways of having to handle that stuff because you're exposed to it all the time. So I know when I police, I had to build up a wall when it comes to certain things, you know what I'm saying? But you got to be careful because that wall can not, that wall can go from a fucking 2-inch thick wall to like goddamn taking your whole house up. You know what I'm saying? So it gets really, really dangerous in my opinion on that aspect of where is the best meet in the middle to draw the line on what you allow yourself emotionally get involved with, because you don't want to turn it off so much that you start missing opportunities to help people and missing what it's all about in the originality, right? In the first place, what it's all about. But I can tell you by shutting yourself off emotionally, like it's a very fine line and it's easy to cross, Matt, you used to police too. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah. Again, really sort of, during that time, sort of with my grandparents, things like that, I kind of suddenly realized that wall that I'd put in place, which is really important, and I completely agree with what you said about that. Probably not straight away, but I realized sort of it felt like after a few days that actually that wall had gone, that had disappeared. And I didn't realize straight away, but after a few days, I realized that I was actually soaking up everything like a sponge. That's how I kind of explained it, really, as in everything that I was dealing with, everything that someone was telling me, I was just taking in those emotions, those feelings, other people's problems, and I didn't have that wall anymore. That kind of gone. So, and again, you have to kind of really look after yourself, check in with yourself and sort of think, right, actually, there's something a little bit different here. Something that, I've kind of now noticed that I've started sort of doing. And that's where your colleagues can help out a lot. Talking to supervisors, communicating with the people around you as a team. Training really helps a lot, going back to what you was trained, having a break, looking after yourself the best way that you can. That was my experience, but and I was able to then reframe things again and kind of build that wall back that kind of gave me protection sort of there. One of the reasons really that I kind of come out of the police and my work with them was because I could feel it changing me. I've done it for sort of 14 years and I knew that my sense of humor was getting very dry because you was getting like the emergency services sense of humor that you get. I was, people were telling me stories and it didn't really mean anything to me. They'd tell me about a fight really excitedly and I'd be stood there thinking, well, it's just another fight or it's just another car accident or it's just another this. I knew I could live with that. I knew I could deal with that because I dealt with it for so long. I'd put that wall back up. But I decided that I'd kind of had a crossroads, really. I didn't really kind of want to spend too much time going down that route. So that's when I kind of come out of that work myself, but I miss it every day as well.
Right.
I do miss it every day. But yeah, it's really important to look after yourself in that. I think you do have to distance yourself. Sometimes you go to certain jobs where it's harder to do because of children being involved or other kind of aspects to that. But definitely use your colleagues, use your supervisors. Look back at training, or perhaps even ask for some, refresher on training as well in certain situations. That can help as well. But yeah, I completely agree with you, with what you said, really, Chris.
All right. And so 100% the family and EMS understands, but most don't and can't comprehend what we see. And that's, I think to this day, that's the truth, and chat, you'll always listen. I know probably some people here have heard like military people talk about how it's hard to function in the civilian world, or I didn't, fortunately for me, I didn't have to jump back into it, because to me, like, there was also a very close bond. I don't feel like it was just as strong as the Marine Corps, but I feel like it was on a level of where I didn't have to experience going from all to nothing, right? So I jumped out from United States Marine Corps to being the police, right? And thank God I ended up where I was at, because I developed some really, really close friends that it was just like being in the Marine Corps with them, you know what I'm saying? And we looked out for each other. We protected each other. Not only did we do that, we had a way of fucking being close friends outside of that and protecting each other on the outside, and coping and dealing with things, to the best of our ability. Because like I said, at that time, I wasn't the strongest at that at all. I tend to just push things away that were significant. You know what I mean? Just because you're surrounding yourself with evil, right? And you just got to kind of think, like Matt was saying, everything starts to kind of go a different route. But there's nothing wrong with feeling lost. There's nothing wrong with feeling like I can't deal with all this shit, right? And there's different ways to handle that, right? Number one, I would suggest seeking outside help, right? Like going to somebody who has no significant value to you whatsoever, right? There's no vested interest. It doesn't matter what you say to them, right? Like you're not going to see them, but maybe that once a week or once every other week thing, right? So, I mean, and I this too, right? Like I've been out, right, in Pearland when I was going to see my counselor and stuff, and I saw her out in town, and like all she did was just smile and wave, and that was it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So they're bound by ethics to not like address you out in public or do anything like that. So even if you do run out on these people in public, they don't give they can't give a shit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like they can't just come up to you and start talking to you. So I highly suggest reaching out to one of those is a good starting point. At least for me, it was. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes the business isn't for everybody, and there's nothing ashamed to be about that either, right? It all depends on how far you want to go with it and how capable you are of working past it, because at the end it'll end up swallowing you if you just leave it untouched. 100%. Yeah, right. You end up drowning. You know what I mean? There's no other way around it. So like, I think that while you're consciously aware that there's a problem happening, like these are the times that I think are vital to where you should be able to reach out, right? To somebody, especially, look, for me, it's all about having that one person who's not attached, right? Like I can dump out my problems. I can dump out all this shit, because I worry a lot about other people that are around me quite frequently. And I feel like that I need to carry everybody's like issues for them. Right. And I do believe that I'm strong, you know what I'm saying? But there is a certain point where I end up realizing like, hey, Chris, let's chill out for a second. Let's make sure that you're okay. And then you can go back to running and gunning, and I really think that me acknowledging that and realizing that I had that problem was a really good thing for me, that led up to me into going to counseling and getting help with it. And I think it changed my life to where I can take on more, right? I can take on more pressure. I can take on more things because I've made room, you know what I'm saying? I've made peace with a lot of things that I didn't even know how to touch that happened back in the day. What you reckon, Matt?
Yeah, definitely. I've just noticed a comment there from Jason as well, who
long time no see, huh?
Yeah, who he says sometimes the perspective of an uninvolved party can help as well, to put perspective on things, which is very true. So sometimes in those roles as well, we can kind of assume, or we can kind of feel that we don't want to burden other people that aren't in that environment with those problems and with those things. So there's a bit of responsibility on ourselves in those roles as well, to kind of not close down options because of our perspective and how we kind of think, or how others, kind of tell us as well, as, oh, you can't take that home with you, or you can't share that with somebody else. So Jason's right there as well. Again, there may be people at home that kind of just want you to talk to them about things and what you're dealing with. It doesn't mean that you have to kind of describe absolutely everything. You know, you can kind of say, you know, I dealt with something really bad today. You know, I kind of feel that I'd need someone to talk to, and so, you know, a lot of colleagues that I realized when I was working in the police, they would go home and they would just close down. They wouldn't talk about work at all. So their partner would kind of be going to them, you know, what's the matter? I've stood in a room actually with one person while they were having an argument in front of me, where their partner was saying, you know, what's the matter with you? Why you come home in a mood again? You know, what's going on? And from the outside, I could kind of see that they just didn't know that my colleague had had a really bad day. He wasn't saying, you know, I'm really sorry, I've just had a really bad day. So that communication kind of wasn't there. So unless you've told someone, you know, people are aware of what job you're doing and what role you're doing, doesn't mean that they know that you've automatically had a bad day or dealt with bad incidents. So even just saying to someone, you know, I've dealing with a lot today, or I've dealt with a lot today, you know, this week's been really hard. You know, kind of it's affected my mood this way. Yeah, you might not even have to go into further detail. Just letting someone know that you're not on top form at the time, you know, it allows them to be able to kind of look out for you a little bit and take some of that weight away from either just giving you some space, just sort of saying, you know, if you want to talk to me, then talk. If people don't know, then they don't know that you need help, and they don't know how to kind of help you either. So that's really important. You know, you haven't got to go into lots of detail, but just letting people know what the score is, you know, can help out a lot in itself.
I know a lot of us do that over pride. You understand what I'm saying? Like a lot of us feel obligated, and yo, chat, just like I told y'all just before, I felt like I need to be the one to take the weight off all my people. You know what I'm saying? Like I do. And I think that mentality kind of runs pretty thick and heavy between anybody in that type of business, like EMS, police, and, you know, any kind of public service stuff like that. I think that runs deep, and that's a real battle, I think, for a lot of people, whether they want to acknowledge it or not, you know, because we feel like what we go through, other people shouldn't have to go through. You know what I'm saying? And I wholeheartedly still kind of feel that way, you know what I'm saying? And it's a tough battle because it leads to a lonely path, you know, and sometimes a lot of us don't do well with loneliness, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily mean with having somebody else around. I mean more like you kind of get lonely with yourself too, and you end up going down this road of just disaster, you know?
Yeah. No, that it's a responsibility of the role, isn't it, as well? You take that on as well. You know, if I'm a firefighter, I'm supposed to be, you know, A, B, and C. I'm supposed to be brave. I'm supposed to, you know, be hardy. I'm supposed to kind of be strong. I'm supposed to put up with all these things. You know, no one kind of expects me to sort of have a bad day, or to moan, or to complain, or to be down. So there's lots of different elements really that can kind of prevent us from talking in those sort of roles. You know, but it's important to look after yourself and do the right things for you, because if you don't look after yourself, if you don't keep that energy there, if you don't look after your diet, your sleep, everything else that we kind of normally talk about, you're not in a fit state to go and help anybody else. You're not going to be able to. So most of us go into those roles because we want to help, because we want to make a difference, because we want to serve our communities and, you know, serve a purpose. It stops us from doing that if we don't look after ourselves first. So it's so important that we kind of invest in us and put the time into us to kind of make sure that we've got the energy there.
So it says, I see where y'all coming from, but at least for me, when I started EMS, I did that, and I saw it affect my abilities to treat people in different ways. So unfortunately now I just ignore the past experience and blurry it, so it won't mess with the current situations and treating a patient in real time. So I'm somewhat stuck. I mean, it's hard for me to say that, right? Like, it's hard for me because my experience was completely different. I realized that was the downfall of me. Like what you're saying is, to me, was the downfall of me that led me into a path of misery. You know what I'm saying? But that's only for me. It's obviously not. I'm not saying that just because you're handling it away by any means is that going to mean anything that happened to me. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that looking back on the situation, like I always thought that I was doing good to other people. I thought I was doing a better service by not touching my past, by not dealing with it, by not coping with it. I always thought that I was doing people a service, but in all reality, what ended up happening, I was doing myself an injustice. and in a bad service, which made me bad for other people. You understand what I'm saying? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not talking like I did crimes and hurt people or anything like that, but I just separated myself from significant others and things like that to a point of where it was unreasonable for them to have any desire to want to be married or, you know, boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever it may be at the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter, but any kind of like friend relationship and shit like that, I end up self-isolating over not touching that stuff. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think by any means that anybody should just take their whole history and just be like, all right, today's the day. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to bring up every fucking thing that's ever happened to me and then sort through it all in one day. Like, I don't think that's accomplishable. I think that would just be setting yourself up for more failure. But I do listen, man. You know, growing up, I remember hearing like people say history always repeats itself. You know what I'm saying? I was like, oh, that's a bunch of fucking bullshit. Who gives a fuck? Yeah, I don't want to learn about history anyways. Who cares? I'm not going to apply this out in real life. You know, when I was in school, when I was in high school and shit, you know, but man, I found that to be actually kind of quite true, you know, and especially when it comes to our own mental health and our own capabilities and shit like that. I think even more so history ends up repeating itself because if you go and you spin yourself in this cycle, right, it's so easy to fall in the comfort zone of that, right? It's so easy to fall in the comfort zone of that circle. And I think the best thing that I ever did for myself was step outside that circle and fall down on my face. You know what I mean? Because it really led to a lot of better things in my life. The quality of life wise, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense, Matt?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, no, I think everything you've said there really just kind of makes sense. I think, you know, those kind of roles, there are individual experiences and things like that. And sometimes we kind of muddle through and we battle through sort of things that we kind of deal with or that we have kind of seen and witnessed. And we do deal with things completely differently. You know, we're all individuals. So one things, you know, might scare one person and not another. And it's kind of important as well to try and catch how you have dealt with stuff, what has worked for you, what are good pathways for you to kind of follow, when you're kind of dealing with something that's traumatic or upsetting. And kind of recognize the tools that, a lot of us develop tools without kind of knowing that we've actually done it. So I'll speak to a lot of people that will kind of come to me and say, look, I'm feeling this way, I'm nervous, can you give me something to kind of help in that situation? Quite often I won't start by giving them something that I kind of know. I'll kind of look back at other things that they've dealt with and how they've dealt with it. And I'll kind of, encourage them to sort of look and realize that they've actually developed a tool for themselves, which is useful, so that they can kind of use that more often once they recognize it and know that that's something that works for them, and kind of explain it more. And then I'll start adding the things that I know to kind of that kind of strengthens it really. So especially in those roles, a lot of people in those roles use things already to kind of cope and to kind of find a way through situations, but might not always recognize what they're doing. So it's good to kind of try to reflect on how you have dealt with stuff, what training you've been given, what strengths that you kind of have got, and kind of go from there. But yeah, we do all work, deal with things completely individually and have different views on things, which is absolutely fine. Hopefully a safe place like this kind of just encourages us really to kind of explore those different ideas, so people that are listening can kind of pick, stuff out for themselves that they can kind of give a go as well and a try.
Absolutely. Mr. Matt Johnson, long time no see, sir. What's up? It's good to see you. How's business? Mr. Matt, how's business? Everything good? I hope. Let's see here. Bam. Got that. Been dealing with something. Jason says, I've been dealing with something and getting input has helped me confirm what I know needs to happen in regards to walking away from a person, but it's easier said than done. It's hard to walk away from someone you care about, but if they are not making time for me, then it's time to create some space. Well, we all have our standards, man. All right. And the best thing that I can recommend is holding firm to them. I'm not saying that relationships and stuff like that aren't a give and take, because they are, but you got to have a basic bottom line moral foundation. You know what I'm saying? And if it gets past that, then I definitely think, it might be time to call it or whatever. What do you think, Matt? You're better at this than I am, Matt. This is your
Do you think? I don't know. Yeah, again, really, communication's good. So, have you spoken about how you feel? I'm kind of guessing that you have from, kind of how you've worded that, really. But for anybody else that, might be in a similar situation, communication again is good. So people, if they don't know what your boundaries are, don't know what upsets you, they're going to kind of keep crossing those lines and things. People that aren't giving us the time that we feel that we need and we deserve. It's kind of that's a common thing in relationships that have gone on for a period of time as well. So, again, sometimes that can be, kind of we can fall into that habit really of taking people for granted and things. So sometimes we need that little bit of a reminder from, our other half or our partner to kind of go, look, we're kind of falling into that trap here where you're kind of coming in, you're not really talking, you've got your routine, I've got mine. So sometimes it can take one half to kind of refresh things a little bit, to remind the other person that, I am over here, I need some conversation and some time and, and to talk. It's a two-way thing, especially in relationships. So, I'd kind of like to think that, you've tried different ways of, perhaps going out to different places, having different date nights, whatever, really, to kind of, freshen those relationships up or strike up that communication. But yeah, if you've kind of tried those things and you've got to a stage of where you're not happy and you're not getting out of something that you feel that you should be, then, it's about how do you change that and what do you do to kind of gain what you're looking for and what you want, really. Sometimes, unfortunately, that does mean the end of a relationship, or whether that's a friendship, whether it's a partnership, whatever that relationship is. Sometimes, unfortunately, that is the end of it. But quite often, there is things that you can do and try to kind of not have to go down that road, especially if you think a lot of them and you'd rather not have that end result of not being able to see someone, talk to someone. But unfortunately, sometimes that is the only, conclusion to what's going on. I'm not sure if I've matched your expectations there, Chris, really, but
yo, man, I always defer on this.
it's hard, isn't it, though? Because there's so many different relationships as well. I've never. It's very rarely that I'll sort of say to someone, "Yep, you're right. That's it." Kind of get rid of it. And
relationships are so complex,
and
there's so much I think that you gotta take into account for too, like error, right? Because especially it seems like in relationships, and I'm not saying that anybody here is guilty of that. I'm just saying that I'm guilty of it, right? Like it's hard sometimes to explain the situation because what we tend to notice or tend to see is the things from our perspective. You understand what I'm saying? And I think subconsciously we vent that out. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm always careful when it comes to those topics because I'm not really good at them either. So
yeah.
Quite honest with you.
It's sometimes it's if you turn around and say to someone, right, this is it, I can't cope with this anymore, I'm not getting out of this friendship or relationship that I'd kind of like. Sometimes that can spark a change in the other person, actually ending a friendship or relationship. Sometimes again, that space, the other person all of a sudden can kind of think, well, actually, I miss that person out of my life, whether it's a friendship or a relationship, whatever. And that can spark something. There's other times where it might not, and it's just a natural progression, really, of where that person has been an important part of your life for a certain amount of time, and for someone else important to kind of come into your life, they need, unfortunately, to kind of step away or to kind of leave. So, so there's lots. It is complex. There's lots of different sides of it. Relationships are kind of hard to maintain. It takes compromise, commitment, motivation, both people wanting to. I think I've mentioned here before about a friendship that I had for years and years and years. It was me that was kind of doing all the running around, the energy, the phone calling. It's me that was doing a drive-in to kind of their house to sort of see a really good old friend from school. And And I got to a point of where I thought, I've done this for so long, for all these years, and I'm not getting a phone call back. If I don't phone, I don't hear anything for a very long time. When we bump into each other, it's just like meeting, from day one, and we're best friends, and you wouldn't think anything was going on at all. But again, I kind of made a decision whereas, right, okay, I'm not actually going to phone sort of now. I'm not going to kind of chase anymore. And I haven't heard from that person for 5 years now. I think it's gone on. I miss my friend. I really do miss my friend. There's days where I sort of think, I'd love to kind of just go out and, have a beer with that person, catch up, see how they're getting on. I hear from other people how they are. So there's that kind of side to it. But I just wasn't willing to kind of do all the legwork sort of anymore, which was my decision. And that's what I decided to kind of do. And there's benefits to that, but I do miss them at the same time. So it's individual choices again, really, and stuff. But what I would say is always try to leave, the door open, not to kind of leave things as much as possible where you slam the door or burn the bridges, really. Kind of always leave that door open. You can kind of get on with life happily. You can still kind of interact to find out how people are and that sort of thing, especially these days with Facebook and that side of it. So as much as possible, leave something open there where, things can change in the future.
Yo, I agree. Yo, Loop.
Stop stealing oxygen.
I'm stealing my oxygen right now, aye, sir. Loop, what's up, dude? What's up, man? I appreciate you being here, buddy. Much love, dude.
I'm going to put a zip on it now.
Yo, we were all being all serious and then smile, bro. I love it when people do that. Right? Yo, I love it. Let's see here. I ran across an interesting personality trait description. Ooh, I don't even know how to pronounce that. Personality, not quite narcissistic, but definitely describes how I feel treated by this person. Matt, you know anything about all that?
Okay. I don't actually, but that sounds like there's like a little bit of a macho thing in there, isn't there? I'll have to Google that one because I haven't actually heard of that before. But yeah, it's I know with the friend I've just been talking about, I know that years ago as a child they were quite hurt by their parents actually. So people kind of moving away, people leaving the area that they're in, they take quite negatively, and I'm aware of that, so I don't kind of blame them for that at all. But we're all kind of adults now, so me moving away from their area, even though I kind of went back every week, every time I made the effort to see them, to them was a negative because to them it triggered off that, well, everybody leaves at some point. I carried on my behavior for sort of 10, 11 years of keep seeing them, keep that contact, even though I'd moved away. Just didn't get back, anything the other way. So in a way, I suppose there's that little bit of me that kind of says, I kind of want to teach you that you don't have to live that way. You can kind of make the effort and keep that contact yourself. Hasn't really worked that way, but yeah, it's different personalities with different traits. It's very difficult, but I'd keep to the positives as well. I'd kind of stick to kind of why you first liked them, why you like, some contact with them, why you still kind of want them in your life. There's obviously positives there. So I'd keep sort of thinking of those, and not that the person's kind of bad or anything like that at all. And, slamming any doors as such to not let any kind of, reversal of anything kind of not happen. But, obviously, perhaps try and find a balance of where you kind of know, well, okay, I know how this person is, so I'm going to give them this time, but I'll take this other time back for myself to spend on other areas. That might be a possibility as well. So you're not completely closing down and getting them out of your life, but, you've got a bit of a healthier mixture.
I agree. Also, therapy is hard to communicate or Loop and Austin, I appreciate them words, man. You guys have palm.com, bro. Also, therapy is hard to communicate and or get advice from someone who's never been in the EMS world or had any experience with it. It feels like empty advice. I mean, I can see where that's coming from, but I remember telling myself that just out of me giving an excuse on not to go, to be quite honest with you. And I don't know if that's the same for you, right? But it definitely was for me, right? Like I used that as a crutch for a long time, right, for a long time. Not necessarily with police, right, but other things. I found that the most effective therapy that I ever got, or counseling, or whatever you want to call it. I don't really know textbook definitions that well because I ain't smart none book smarts, right? But I found that most of the stuff that I learned in therapy, which maybe it's just I got lucky with a good counselor or something, I don't know, but was that she never really answered problems for me. You know what I'm saying? She never really did. Like what she helped me do is find those answers within myself, you know. And I'm forever in debt for it. I really am. I'm forever in debt for it. But I haven't had any other experience with counseling outside of that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think I went some when I was younger, right? Because I used to be angry, fucking little bear, right? I used to be an angry little bear, right? And but as far as like real life stuff that I've been through and I've dealt with, I never really sought answers. I didn't go there expecting or wanting answers. You know what I mean? I wanted help figuring it out myself. You know what I mean? Because I just couldn't do it myself, you know, and that's really what I obtained from her. And like I said, I don't really know. I don't have too much experience. I haven't been to many counselors or anything like that. That's just one, really, you know, that really I think made some huge steps in my life. But I guess too, if you're like at a counselor where you're getting answers and stuff, I don't necessarily know if that's the best course. But don't ever be afraid to shop for a different one, you know. Matt, you would kind of be able to explain this probably a little better since that's your area of what you do for a living, you know?
I think you've explained it pretty well, really. You know, again, we're all individuals, so you know, one counselor can be very, very different from another. I kind of tend to react better to people that challenge me and ask me questions. So where you've you know, there's different counseling, so there's person-centered, you know, and there's sort of solution focused as well and things. So I tend to, you know, get more out of someone if I say something. I don't want them just to agree with me. I kind of like them to challenge me and to like question sort of what I say. So I prefer that rather than someone that kind of sits and listens and just lets me talk, really. So we're all different. Counselors are very different. So, you know, some people will kind of go, well, I only want to see a male counselor for different reasons. They'll, you know, but then they won't get what they want to out of a male counselor. So as soon as they try a female counselor or the other way round, they then realize, well, actually, you know, this person's really helping me. They're kind of, I'm really connecting with them, and they're really kind of, you know, they've got the experience there to be able to kind of talk to me more about this certain environment or a certain situation. We was talking to Alex Harrison a couple of weeks ago, great guest, and obviously someone had suffered loads of trauma in the services, armed services in Afghanistan. And I asked him during that night, actually, you know, do you find it difficult talking to people that haven't been in that role? And you know, because obviously, you know, a lot of times that comes up where people from the armed services, they'll say, well, you know, there's no point in me talking to a counsellor who's never been in the army. I sometimes get challenged on what I do in professional sport. People say, well, you've never won the world championships of, like, I don't know, tennis, football, whatever. You know, you don't know what pressure feels like. Whereas I kind of spin it around really as, well, do you want someone, you know, if you've got a broken leg, do you want to speak to someone that has got a broken leg and that is going to know how you feel? Or do you want someone to fix your broken leg rather than just talk about it? So there's that side. My other way of explaining it really is that, no, I've never performed to that level. I've never won the world championships of a certain sport. I've never dealt with that pressure in that situation, but I have worked in the police, and I've worked, you know, where I've been the only person called to a riot taking place where there was 100 people fighting and someone that had been run over in the middle of it. And quite often those people would turn around and say, well, how did you do that? How did you manage that? I couldn't deal with that situation. So it's all kind of comparable. Pressure is kind of pressure. It works in a very similar way. We have the same triggers in our system, same chemicals, just different situations will cause it. So sometimes, you know, again, really keep options open, search around. Don't just think that one counsellor represents every counsellor out there. They're all very different. People will talk to you and respond in a different way. They'll have different experiences. So sometimes it does take a little bit of looking around to find someone that will suit you and the questions that you want to ask.
I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself, right?
It was a very
It
long
never
way
get-
of saying it.
Listen, it'll never be easy, y'all. It'll never be easy. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not designed to be easy. That's just not the way life works. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we are obligated to try and better ourselves, and we should be trying to do that daily. You know?
Yeah, that's
And,
the main thing. Really, is just don't give up. Don't
exactly.
You know, if you go to a restaurant, you can have a bad experience in a restaurant. You can have bad food. You know, you can have a fly in your soup when they bring you soup, bad service, whatever. Does that stop you going out and eating in another restaurant? No, you just probably don't go back to that restaurant. You try another one, and you know, if you have another bad experience, you complain or you challenge and you say, well, actually, this doesn't work for me. You know, I'm going to try somewhere else. So try somewhere else. You know, the worst thing that we do or tend to do is not invest in ourselves very well. And the best investment we can make is in us. You know, because that opens so many doors and we can do so many things when we invest time, effort into us and learn more and educate ourselves. And going and seeing a counselor or talking about our issues and problems, it's helping us so much. And it can do. You know, someone can all of a sudden, you know, kind of say, well, look, here you go. How have you tried this? Have you looked at that problem this way? And it can just click and change perspective on everything, or you know, certainly the thing that you see them for. So yeah, don't kind of, you know, go to one restaurant and then sort of think, right, I'm going to just sit home and cook and things for myself these days. You know, just try another restaurant, and that's kind of, you know, you've got to really, because people are so different. You're going to get a different service from different people.
It's so funny how in life, at least for me, right? Like, I would want to do something better, and then whenever something didn't play out right, I'm like, see, that's why I shouldn't have fucking tried in the first place. And then automatically try and escape and evade from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. It's because that fear of being let down, bro. You know, like when you're at rock bottom and you don't know how much more of being let down you could take. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, I will say this, man, coming from the bottom, chat, being at the worst of the worst, right? Like I'm telling you, it's worth the risk. Right, it really is.
It's completely that reaction is completely understandable, and it's not about criticizing people or anything like that. It's just about encouraging people not to give up trying and not to give up looking and searching and things, because you will find the answer. The answer's out there. You've just got to put the energy in, get that motivation up just to go and find it. And you never know what's just around that next corner. And you know, if it's not around that corner, look around the next corner, because you know it will be there. You just got to find it. And I think as well, it's I have a lot of people come to me and sort of say, you know, it happens so often where people say, "You're my last resort," and I sort of say to them, "Well, why have you come to me now?" And it's like, "Well, because I've tried sitting at home on my own. I've tried, you know, sort of dealing with things myself. I've tried, you know, other therapies. I've tried this. I've tried that. I've tried, you know, all sorts of things. But really, when you talk to them, they've put off going and speaking to a counselor. They've put it off for years, in, you know, 10, 15 years sometimes when I talk to people. And I'm so glad that they have eventually kind of come to speak to someone. But I can't help as a person sit there and think, wow, you know, if they'd kind of spoken to someone 10, 15 years ago, where would they be now? You know, it's good that we've got a starting space now, but you know, what could they have achieved in those 10 or 15 years? You know, their life could look so different now if they'd only just gone and spoken to someone at that time instead of this time.
Life's too short, you know. It really is. You never know when your car is going to be up, so you might as well make the best of what you got when you got it, you know. 100%. I guess kind of anything Matt, you got anything else to add?
No, not. It's just good to be back, isn't it? It's good to be back here and talking. And like normal, you know, chat has done what it normally does and brought up some great topics and great conversation. And there's a couple of comments there that I was still trying to read. Let's have a look. When that good bets. Yeah, no, it's honestly, if about restaurants there and counselors, you know, if you know, don't just don't sit in your seat in a restaurant, keep getting bad service. You just wouldn't
Right.
do that. So, you know, it takes 1 or 2 sessions really. If something doesn't feel comfortable, a good counselor will really understand you turning around to them and saying, look, I feel a little bit uncomfortable here, or, you know, I don't feel like I can kind of speak as freely as I'd like to. A good counselor, in my mind, will try to be flexible, and they'll try to adapt the way that they work to kind of fit you. But it doesn't mean that they will always be able to do that. So, you know, and they are very used to someone turning around. The thing is, sadly, the thing that they are used to are people just not turning up to their next appointment, and then not seeing that person again. Every counsellor I speak to, because you know, everyone has to be registered and things as well. There's governing bodies in place. Every counsellor that I speak to, they would much prefer the person to talk to them and say, look, this isn't really working for me. I don't know whether coming here is the right place. Can you put me in contact perhaps with somebody else? You know, they often have contacts that they can kind of refer you on to. And they can then try to kind of adapt the way that they work to suit you, or at least they understand, you know, why you might not turn up the next week, or what's going on. But yeah, just don't give up. You wouldn't sit in a restaurant, keep just getting bad service, or you know, service that wasn't helping you. So just keep trying and move on to the next one.
I agree. Right. Your happiness is worth it. You know,
Yeah,
like I always say, we're responsible. At the end of the day, it takes us willing to go out there and push ourselves and be able to do it. Right.
Yeah. But it's very, you know, it's us feeling uncomfortable a lot of the time. They're professionals, and as a professional, they understand that, you know, what they provide might not be actually a good fit for what you're looking for. So they absolutely understand that people, you know, kind of don't feel comfortable and would like to somewhere, you know, try something else or somewhere else. So it's not a problem for them at all. It's more of how we feel, and, you know, that something doesn't work. So, you know, and we kind of take one thing as an example of how everybody works, which is, you know, everybody isn't that way. They're all different.
Agreed. I guess, you got anything in closing, Matt?
No, not really. It's no, it just really is. It's good to see chat busy. There's been some great conversation sort of coming up there, and I'm already looking for next week as well.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
We're back. Like I said, chat, we're back. Matt, are you going live on TikTok to kind of recap everything like you were talking about?
Yeah, I was going to. First time on TikTok. Haven't used it before. I had my 1,000 followers a little while ago. I think I'm almost up to 1,200 or something now, I think. So yeah, I'm up and away. So I was planning on just being on there for about an hour or something like that, just to have a chat if anybody's about, just to try out TikTok for a change.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go run up over there too, y'all. So if you guys want to go, Matt, can you put at your username in the chat so people know? Because I'm gonna go run up over there for your first time live, bro. I want to see it. Right?
Oh no, don't do that.
Yeah, man.
That's when I go and hide now. It is just Matt Andrews mentoring with it ends on the end because I couldn't squeeze the ing.
Yeah, if you just type it in there or whatever.
Right? Yeah. I'm not on YouTube at the moment, so
I'll be honest with you, Jason. Like I rarely I don't have listen, I stream on there. I stream every day at 5:00 p.m. Central Standard Time on there, and before that I was doing it too. Very rarely I'll get the occasional fucking dumbass comments, you know what I'm saying? But you know, I got good moderators, they just ban them, you know what I'm saying? But it's not near as what I for some reason I've just been lucky, I guess, against trolls. I don't know, but I love TikTok, man. I'm fucking grateful. Yo, they let us take over their main page 2 Fridays ago, bro. It was awesome, right? They've been so good to me, and I'm having a really good time up over there. Matt Andrews mentoring chat right there. You guys see it?
It is. I've seen a bit of a mixture, really. So I haven't even got any. I haven't even got any mods or anything. So
I mean, I do agree that there can be toxicity.
Yeah, I've seen some negative stuff on there.
I'm just saying I got pretty lucky so far, right?
Yeah,
knock on wood. You know what I'm saying? Like my desk and shit, right?
You're always lucky. Not that I believe in bad luck and good luck anyway, but we'll cover that another evening. So,
all right. Well, chat, we just want to let y'all know we love you. We're happy to be back. Sorry these past 2 weeks, you know, with TikTok takeover and then Matt having to handle parent stuff and family stuff and whatnot.
Yeah.
But we're back and running. So every Friday, y'all, 6:00 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on the tube. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I did. I noticed as well. Jade said about us having a podcast, which we have spoken about, and we will have to have a look at that and sort out something because I think definitely got something that we could be looking at and using. Was looking about perhaps having a little extra, wasn't we? Something like that.
Yeah.
So we'll have to get onto that one.
All right. Well, chat. We love you guys, man.
Have a good weekend, and if I don't see you before, I'll see you next week, Chris, and we'll have a look at COD as well.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
All righty, we'll see you, and then I'm gonna jump over there on TikTok with you.
I see you there in a minute. Right? Okay, I'll go and hide.
We love y'all. Right. We challenge you if you're out in public anywhere, just pick a random person, smile at them, say something nice. You never know what kind of day somebody's having, and just how far that one single act of kindness can go. All right. I love y'all. I love y'all. I love y'all. Go out there and change the motherfucking world.
And make your bed.
And make your bed. I wish we could play that here, but we can't, unfortunately, due to copyright. But all right, love you guys.
All right. See you soon. See you later. Have a good weekend.